Welcome to the webinar, everyone. Another Wednesday, another lunch and learn, and today's topic: to soy or not to soy, the facts about soy in your diet. When this topic was actually identified by a large group of customers and people that had written in to ID Life Corporate asking about this issue. Because the issue can be very controversial. There's a lot of information on both sides of the fence. So, today is all about trying to educate. Every one of these Wednesday lunch and learns that's the purpose, that's the intent, to allow you, the consumer, to make informed choices, to understand the issue, to get the true facts in an unfiltered way, so that you can make the decisions for yourself, for your family, for the ones that you care about, for the ones that you love. So let's kind of jump in. When you're talking about soy, it's typically good or bad. It's binary. It's either or. There's no in between. And even in ID Life, we have chosen to be soy free, and there's some reasons behind that, but it's not a good or bad discussion. See, it's not whether or not soy is good for you or soy is bad for you. That's not really the issue. When you really look at it, you have to go to the science first. And when you go to the science and find the people that have looked at this, especially the Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality, they came out with a study called The Effects of Soy on Health Outcomes, and they reviewed thousands of studies based upon a very, very specific scientific method. And its conclusions were, I can't even say controversial. They were somewhat expected. And the outcome was simply this: the dangers of soy have been significantly overstated, and the benefits have been too. So no matter whether or not you're on the soy is good for you side or the soy is bad for you side, both sides have significantly overstated both the dangers and the benefits. And in fact, they've actually got the question wrong. When you really look at the issue and you really try to understand soy as an issue for health and wellness, the question is not good or bad. The question when it comes to soy is not good or bad. In fact, the question is really, what type of soy are you talking about? Because when you really understand the issue, you really understand what this little vegetable is and what it can do and the benefits that it provides and the potential dangers that it has in certain forms, you understand that when you're talking about this topic, the real question you should be asking yourself when you're making your purchasing decisions is, what type of soy are you talking about? So let's figure that out real quick, because when I say type of soy, there's a lot of people that don't understand what that means. See, the first type of soy that we can discuss is whole food soy. Okay, this is whole soybeans, tofu, tempeh, miso. You may even know it as edamame. Everything great and fine, a great vegetable that you then add so much salt to that you can't really taste the vegetable. All you can taste is the salt, probably why you like it so much. The issue here is whole food soy has been around for thousands of years and does have some true benefit. We're going to talk about that today. But when you hear about the good, this is what most people are referring to, the whole food soy side of things. So the argument for the people that believe soy is good for you are typically talking about whole food soy. Now, the camp that's talking about soy is bad for you, the thing is, they're talking about processed soy. They're talking about sports bars, veggie burgers, veggie dogs, veggie bacon, soy drinks, etc. All of the stuff that is basically processed, genetically modified. The fact that we've taken a perfectly healthy vegetable and made it something else through a chemical process or modification. That's where the people in the camp that say soy is bad are correct as well. So when you have people that are arguing whether or not soy is good or soy is bad, they're really not comparing the same type of soy, because both are right, but both are wrong. And today's topic is basically so that you, the consumer, you, the person that's trying to learn something, is actually going to get the right information so that you can, really understand this topic, and more importantly, understand, both the dangers and benefits of soy. So one of the places that you can go is to MD Anderson, because soy has been linked directly to your increased chance of contracting breast cancer specifically. And the reason that is simple. See, Soybeans contain something called isoflavones. Isoflavones are basically similar to estrogen, and as a result of being similar to estrogen, the fear has always been that estrogen is linked to hormonally sensitive cancers like breast cancer. But what MD Anderson found in its own independent studies that these isoflavones may act like estrogen, but they actually have anti-estrogen properties. And in fact, Anderson came out with a statement that said research does not support avoiding whole soy foods, even for cancer patients or survivors. So this was very specific. So there's a lot of people that are on the argument side of soy is good for you and doesn't cause cancer, and use this as an example of that argument. But the reality is, Anderson was very specific in what they were talking about. They were talking about whole food soy. They were not talking about processed soy. They were not talking about genetically modified soy. They were not talking about chemically processed soy. They were not talking about those types of things. They were talking about whole food soy, the original source, the actual vegetable itself. So understand that there is some distinction here. But more important than that, Anderson went on to say a couple of other things. First, that whole food soy contains all the essential amino acids that play a role in supporting the body's vital functions. That's an important thing because when you're looking at vegetables to add to your diet, to basically have as a source of protein and amino acids, soy actually contains all of the amino acids, all the essential amino acids that you need. Now, remember, they were talking about whole food soy, unprocessed, non-GMO. So that's a big issue here. So don't just think that you can go out and get yourself some genetically modified edamame and think that you're doing everything great, because there may be an issue there. But remember, they're talking about whole food organic soy. And then, of course, they also say that it can be an easy way for people on a vegan or vegetarian diet and those with food allergies to get the required amino acids they need. But they also provided a warning, which is basically too much of a good thing can be a bad thing. You must moderate. This isn't something that you want to eat on every single meal. There is a point at which too much soy can actually, even whole food soy, can become a bad thing in your diet. So be very careful in that regard. Now, there's a lot of people out there right about now that are on the soy is bad camp that can't believe that we're actually saying that whole food soy can actually have some beneficial effect, even though MD Anderson has said it as well, and may very well disagree with what I've said so far. But let's look at something specific. Let's take science out of the equation for a second, and let's just look at some simple fact. If you look at Okinawa, Japan, one, it's a beautiful place, but it also has something very particular when you look at demographics. See, Okinawa, Japan is the home to the world's longest lived people. That's right. People that live in Okinawa, Japan for hundreds of years have lived longer than everyone else on Earth. It's a given fact. I mean, you can look it up, you can research it, you can find it, but the reality is that is a fact, Okinawa, Japan. But what's one thing that they keep in common? For more than 500 years, they've eaten whole food, organic, and fermented soy foods every day in moderation. So even if you're on the soy is bad side, one of the things you need to understand is that the longest lived people in the world eat whole food, organic, and fermented soy foods every single day and still are walking around on this earth longer than anyone else. Now, it very well may be because they're also not eating all the other processed foods and other things that a lot of us eat. They're also not eating the fast foods, and they actually cook their foods and things of that nature. But the reality is this is a fact, and it is hard to argue with. Now, at the same token, say no to processed soy. Okay, so we've talked about whole food soy, we've talked about those original sources, but now let's make sure that we're saying no to processed soy. What is processed soy? Well, that includes soy protein, isolate, and concentrates. There's a lot of soy shakes, protein shakes, that have now been created that are processed. Not the same thing as the good, beneficial whole food soy. These protein isolates and concentrates have been modified and as a result don't have the same benefits. Genetically engineered soy foods, typically from Monsanto's Roundup soybeans, are the world's leading seller of genetically modified foods. Again, not the same thing as the whole food. Soy supplements, junk foods, cheese, ice cream, oil, burgers, just avoid this stuff. It does not have any science to support a beneficial effect. In fact, part of the reason why that is is because when you actually look at the information related to the benefits of soy, thousands of years of traditional use of whole food soy, they have been able to show no benefits. In fact, what they have been able to show is the processed soy has unhealthy fats and other compounds that whole food soy simply does not have in its raw natural state. So through the chemical process, through the genetic modification, things are being added to the soy that is creating the unhealthy nature of the ingredients. So again, just avoid processed soy. That's the stuff we're trying to get rid of. So what percentage of GMO soy in the U.S., what's the percentage of it? Where we are right now in this country, more than 94% of the soy found in the U.S. has been genetically modified. This is true of even the organic stores that you go to, the grocery stores that you go to that are selling organic, because remember something. Organic does not mean non-GMO. Non-GMO does not mean organic. You have to basically understand that what's happening here in this process. You have to make sure that you're very careful here. So we have distinguished now between whole food, organic, natural soy, and processed soy. So you are now educated on the difference. So what's the takeaway? What are you taking away from this? If you can find unprocessed, non-GMO, organic, whole food soy, a moderate amount can be a good source of amino acids and plant-based protein. But there's a big issue here. See, ID Life as a company has chosen to be soy-free for a particular reason. It is very difficult, even for a product manufacturer like ID Life, to find unprocessed, non-GMO, organic, whole food soy anywhere. U.S. or anywhere else in the world. It is very, very difficult to source that ingredient. So as a result, we've just decided to be completely soy-free because we just think it's the safer thing to do, because there is a difference, like I've said, between whole food organic soy and processed soy. Big difference between the two. And so one of the things I'm hoping that today's presentation has done is that if you're going to talk about soy with your friends, if you're going to choose one or the other, get in the good camp or the bad camp when it comes to this ingredient, understand the true argument. Understand that the people that are arguing that it's good very well may be saying what they're saying very well may be true, because they may be talking about the whole food soy. And what you very well may be saying, if you're in the bad camp, is also just as true, because you're talking about processed soy. But if you really dig deep into the conversation, what you're going to find is a common ground. What you're going to find is you're both saying the same thing. You're both correct. But the real issue, the real problem, the real question is, what type are we talking about? Because if you understand the type, then you can understand whether or not it's something that you should be adding to your diet, to the diet of the ones that you care about, love, and most importantly, the ones that you're trying to help protect. So hopefully this clears up the question for you, and now you are well informed when it comes to soy and your choices of providing food for your family.